I'm like seriously channeling my inner Charlie's Angel today. Mauricio is going to college and we are not taking out a single student loan to do it, period.
Wait, didn't he just get his degree? Aren't we like paying $50,000 in school loans for him?
Why, yes, 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 we are. But in truth, nobody really searches for how to pay for graduate school without school loans. So, yeah, we had to give the people what they want. And in reality, what we're going to tell you is exactly the same as how to pay for college. And yes, it can be done. It takes planning, a lot of planning, but it absolutely can be possible to get through college without debt or graduate school. But the one thing it takes a lot of is desire not to take on debt. As long as that is a huge priority in your life, you will be able to do this. You just need to always remember to keep your eye on the prize. So today I'm going to talk about why Mauricio is going back to school, why he's going back to school now while we're paying off debt, our plan for him to go back to school, and how we're going to pay for it. Somebody might want to remind me of this in 3 years if I'm considering taking out a school loan. Hey guys, it's Wendy, Valencia. Normally on this channel, we spend a lot of time talking about getting out of debt. But today I want to deal with how to avoid taking on more debt. And college or graduate school or those things are a really easy way to take on debt. Now, I will tell you upfront, I'm actually not against school loans, which I know goes against the grain, but legitimately, sometimes that is the only way. College is expensive and not everybody has a disposable income that they can use. My advice to those people is take out as little as possible. Try and get 1 or 2 jobs, work your way through college, look into work study programs, and really try and absolutely avoid taking on debt in those circumstances, because there is nothing good about graduating from college, not having a job, and owing $50,000. So the big question on my channel always seems to be, why is Mauricio going back to school when we are actively trying to get out of debt? And I'll tell you, the honest reason is because he needs to. The job he has now is fantastic and he loves it, but it was never meant to be his long-term career job. He wanted to have it for maybe 5 years while he went through school. It was kind of always our plan that if he needed to go back to school, he would. And what basically happened is right before he finished his undergraduate in criminal justice, which he had gotten specifically to help him get a particular job, he discovered he wasn't going to be able to ever have that job. And so unfortunately, because of it, he was kind of at a loss as to what to do. So the job he has now allows him to use that, but he's always going to be like the assistant. He can never be the guy. And so Mauricio is the guy. He wants to be the go-to, the point, the man. And so as a result, in this field, he'll never get to be that. And he wasn't really okay with, for lack of a better term, a second-class citizen, even though he really isn't. That's really kind of hard to explain without divulging exactly what both Mauricio and I do, which, as you all know, we can't do on our channel because we have agreements with our jobs that we will not do that. So it's complicated, but there is a legitimate reason. So back when Mauricio started to study, I told him, do whatever you want. And the problem was he was already in a career path. And he thought he was going to continue in that career path, but it was a career path that was basically forced on him. You know, he was told he could go into this one career path or this other career path by his family, and wasn't really given any options. So when we first got married, I was like, you study whatever you want. I want you to be happy and do whatever you want. And he didn't know. So he just stayed in that career path. And unfortunately, as a result, at his age and in his situation, he didn't know what he was going to do. So Mauricio always had an affinity for building and designing real creative stuff, building models and building cities. My parents gave him like a Dickens Village set, and we give him a new piece every year. And he would build this elaborate city with a train running through it. And he loved doing that. And he just loved designing stuff. And I had asked him if he would ever be interested in architecture. And he said that he would, but he was always interested in architecture, but it was so far out of the realm of what he did, he would not even consider going into it. So as time went on, I always picked up on these architecture clues, and he was very, very interested in it. And the final straw was last summer when we went. I did a whole video on this. We went on our 10-year wedding anniversary, a little like weekend getaway, and we stayed in a yurt. And I kid you not, the man spent 45 minutes talking about the design of the ceiling and how the ceiling held itself up and how he was so fascinated. And my eyes were rolling back in my head, and he couldn't understand how everybody didn't find this fascinating. I don't know. And so I told him, I was like, that's it. You're going to study architecture. I'm sorry, but I'm going to push you into it. And basically, I kind of bullied him into it. So we had a friend of the family who knew one of the architecture professors at, I want to say it was Cornell. Might have been, I don't remember, some big Ivy League school. And so he took about 45 minutes one day and talked to Mauricio about his story, wanting to go into architecture. And the guy had some really definite advice. Then we talked to several other people that were knowledgeable in the architecture field. And basically, the suggestion from the professor and other people was take a couple of classes at your local community college and see if you like it. If you like it, then that's when you get into how you're going to study. Mauricio, within the first 2 classes at our local community college, he's taking mechanical drawing right now. He loved it. Like, loved it. So, yeah, I think this is definitely the direction he's going to go for sure. He's going to take one other class, the other class that was recommended, before he really makes the decision. But the plan is that there are programs called MArch, Masters in Architecture. And you can take the 2-year program or the 3-year program. And the 3-year program is designed for students who do not have their undergraduate in architecture. The whole first year is basically you taking the basics that you would learn in undergraduate. And not every single school has a master's in architecture, and not every school that has a master's in architecture offers the master's in architecture for people who don't have an undergraduate in architecture. So we had narrowed it down to 4 colleges: University of Maryland, Virginia Tech, University of Washington, D.C., and Catholic University. University of Maryland, because we are not Maryland residents, he was going to have to pay out-of-state tuition, which is over $50,000 a year. So we kind of automatically eliminated that one. University of Washington, D.C., although a much cheaper university, is the second to lowest ranked architecture program in the United States. So we kind of eliminated that one right off the bat. That left Virginia Tech and Catholic University. And we really wanted Virginia Tech because it's a state school, so it's significantly cheaper. And it also, they have a program very near us that's not in Washington, D.C. Catholic University is in Washington, D.C. And since Mauricio's Uber and Amazon flexing days, he hates driving in Washington, D.C. So, not having to do that every week for classes was key. Well, what ended up happening is the first year at Virginia Tech requires that you be in Blacksburg for the school. So he was super bummed, and that really only left Catholic University, which was $54,000 a year for 3 years. And that's a lot of money. And he didn't want to spend it. The other thing, after talking to the professor, we discovered is masters in architecture programs are generally not done while you're employed, which means at some point we would have to go down to my salary alone to support us completely. So that was another deterrent. But we agreed he should really go ahead and just take these 2 intro classes and see if he liked them. And if he liked them, great. Then we would, we would deal with it. We'd come up with a plan. So he gets into class that first day and the professor is talking, and he says, if you get your associates in architecture from our local community college, Northern Virginia Community College, NOVA, you actually will be fast-tracked into the 2-year program at Virginia Tech over at the Alexandria campus. And we were like, yeah, what? So we talked about it, and so that is what he's going to do, assuming he takes this other course and really likes the program altogether, and it's not just the mechanical drawing he likes. So that's really the plan for now. The big question is, how are we going to pay for it? Well, the good news about Nova is that it is cheap. It's about $500 a class. The class he's taking now, we cash flowed the one class. He's going to have to take 2 years worth of classes. So at some point, he'll be taking 2 and 3 classes at a time, but it's not something we can't cash flow right now. And while he's in Nova, he'll be able to continue working. His job's being super flexible right now about him, taking off in the middle of the day to go to class. So it's easy. It really is legitimately very, very easy. And then in 2 years, when it's time to go to Virginia Tech, assuming he has the GPA to get in, which Mauricio graduated from college with like a 3.8 or 3.9, something like that. So I don't anticipate he'll have a problem. He's going to go right into Virginia Tech, which is, $7,000, $8,000 a year to go there, which is expensive, but not unreasonable for us, because by that point, hopefully we'll be debt free. So we'll have the extra cash. And his part-time job will be finding scholarships and grants, and maybe he'll take on a work study. But the goal is to get through the whole program without taking on a single cent of debt. And that's what I'm hoping for. And should it come down to it where he has to get a job and go to school, he can always Uber or Amazon Flex in the off hours or on the weekends, whenever, if he has the time, to bring in a little bit of extra cash. But our plan is that our expenses won't be so great that we won't be able to cover it with just my salary. So I'll see you in the next one. See ya. We're out.